Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Getting Started. Today, we're going to highlight the TradeStation Desktop, and we're going to get to the platform in just one moment. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to be here, learn a little bit about our platform. As we said at the beginning, we're going to focus on the TradeStation Desktop, which is the one that you install on your computer. TradeStation provides you different ways in which you can trade. You can trade on your mobile device, you can trade on a web browser, or you can trade on the desktop. My name is Jesus Nava, by the way. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities, and I enjoy joining these classes and giving you tips and tricks on the TradeStation platform and how you can take full advantage of TradeStation functionality. Let's go ahead and go through some of the disclosures. Just keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone, and that past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. If anybody has questions or needs details on these disclosures, go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. Let's go ahead and switch over here to the TradeStation platform. Here it is. Okay, perfect. So I already have my TradeStation platform installed. This is what you see when you first launch the TradeStation platform and you log in using your username and password. It's the TradeStation Today workspace. You can see that it opens up as a tab right here at the bottom of your TradeStation platform. TS Today is meant to provide you some timely information about education, news, and events. Over here on the left-hand side, we have a collection of videos that you can watch directly on your TradeStation desktop. We have recommended workspaces down here, which are templates. If anybody is having difficulties here setting up your TradeStation platform, these can work as templates. You can open them up and see how they're built. A lot of them were built thinking about your trading style, if you're a day trader or a futures trader, an options trader. So visit them as a way to maybe build on top of what's there and maybe make it your own. Right here in the middle, we have the news feed. Over here on the right, we have events. On the date right here on the right-hand side, you can see which events are upcoming. Although the events that are posted here are also the same events that you find on the events page on the TradeStation website. So you can go to both places and get access to the events. There's a limit on the number of events that can be listed here on TS Today. So if you want to see the full list, just go to tradestation.com, learn, and you find a dedicated link there to the events, gives you all the details on each one of the upcoming events. At the bottom here, we have the what's new. Every so often, TradeStation releases a new version of the platform. And if you want to know what's been fixed, what's been added, or what's been enhanced, you can just click there and see all the things that have been implemented. All right, let's go ahead and open up a new workspace, start from scratch. I'm going to bring my cursor down here to the bottom left, and I'm going to click on the plus. This adds a new workspace. It's untitled because I haven't saved it. See, the name is untitled right there at the bottom. But I can use the apps menu right here at the top to open up applications within this workspace. We're going to focus on three main areas of the TradeStation desktop, which are charting, scanning, and trading. For charting, we have the chart analysis application. Anytime that you need a chart, TradeStation remembers the last symbol you were looking at. I was looking at the Dow Jones index, and that's the symbol that gets loaded right here in my chart, $INTU, and it's set to a 5-minute time frame. I'm going to grab my window here from the corner and stretch it so that it fills the whole area. I'm also going to change the time frame. We have a dedicated set of tools right here on the top of the chart that give you access to formatting and customizing what you're looking at. I'm going to go to the time frame drop down and I'm going to select daily. So this is a daily chart of the Dow Jones. I can use the up arrow key on the up arrow or the down arrow key on my keyboard to expand or contract the chart. If I press the up arrow key, I'm giving myself a little bit more space within candles. So it just spaces everything out. I can see more detail. But if I want to squeeze more historical data, I can press the down arrow key and it has the opposite effect. It compresses the chart and I can see a little bit more of historical data. Sometimes if you keep on pressing the down key, it'll squeeze the chart all the way it can, and you have all this black space on the right-hand side. So yes, the chart doesn't load historical data automatically. There is a predefined amount of historical data that it loads. I believe on a daily chart is about 2 days. So today is August 7th. So it'll go back to August 7th of 2022 and then load 2 years of historical data. You can load more. So if you want to fill your chart with all the historical data, you can request it. I find that the quickest way for you to request historical data on TradeStation is to type it in. So if I want to load, let's say 10 years of historical data on the Dow Jones, I can use my keyboard and type in 10 years. When you use your keyboard, TradeStation is sensitive to keyboard commands. And you can see that the command line pops up. I didn't have to click anywhere to have this little pop-up show up on my screen. I just needed to press keys on the keyboard, and it automatically inputs those keys into the command line. And you can see that I typed 10 space years. So this is interpreted, or TradeStation will take that as a request to download historical data. Enter key. I'm looking at 10 years of historical data on the Dow Jones. Very simple. The command line, I used it a lot for not only requesting historical data, and by the way, when you do historical data requests, you're not only limited to years, you can, say weeks, you can say months, or you can say days. So if you're in an intraday chart, let's say you're looking at a 5-minute, and you want to load 30 days, the same way that I typed in 10 years, you can just type in 30 space days, and it takes that as a historical data request. Right? Hopefully that's clear. There's a couple more things that I do using the command line that are very cool. For example, changing the symbol. Let's say that instead of looking at the Dow Jones, I want to take a look at the S&P index. So if I type in $SP, SPX.X, which is the symbol we use for the S&P 500, and I hit the enter key, now it changes the symbol to, you can see the symbol here on the top left. This is $SPX.X. You can see the description right here on the title bar of the chart analysis. This is the S&P 500 index, which trades on or is reported by the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, the CBOE. All right. So that's so we talked about loading historical data, changing the symbol, and you can also change the time frame by typing it in. Let's say that I want to take a look at 30-minute candles on my chart. All I need to do is type in 30 space MIN. We can use, the full word. You can use minutes or the abbreviation MIN. That's what I use most of the time. And this will be taken as a request to change the time frame on the chart. 30 MIN, hit enter. And look, I'm looking at a 30-minute chart of the S&P 500. Doesn't look right because it doesn't automatically fill the chart with historical data. On a 30-minute time frame, I think the chart only goes back 30 days, if I'm not mistaken. That looks like there's 30 candles in there, or maybe 60 candles. If you want to know for sure what the default amount of historical data is, you can go to data and then edit the symbol. And you can see that on a 30-minute time frame, the amount of historical data is set to 15 days. So I miscalculated. It's not 30 days, it's 15. All right, so I'm going to request more data here. I'm going to say, give me 6 months of data. You can see that there's a PD in yellow as it loads historical data. And you can see that the 6 months was not quite enough to fill the whole chart. So I'm going to do 1 year. PD right here on the top. PD stands for pending data, and it's in yellow, and it'll stay there until the chart is able to download all the data that you requested. Again, this is a 30-minute chart of the S&P 500, and I can press the up arrow key to expand the view and see what's been happening recently. The days in an intra-day chart are separated by vertical dotted lines. Those are called session breaks, and you can modify the color of those if you want them to be a little bit more prominent and stand out a little bit more. In fact, every single color and style that the chart has on the TradeStation platform can be changed. So if you don't like the dark background, if you want to have a lighter background, that's up to you. changing the colors of the candles. In fact, talking about changing colors, if you go to the file menu right here on TradeStation, we have a theme option where you can change your TradeStation from a dark theme to a light theme if you'd like to, switch. A lot of people like the lighter instead of the dark, but the default is the dark. All right, let's talk about indicators and drawing tools. All the drawing tools are going to be in the drawing menu. You have an option here at the bottom that says toggle the drawing toolbar. So if you do use drawing tools a lot, toggling the drawing toolbar is convenient. If I click on this, you'll see the drawing tools right here on the left-hand side. And you can hover over the little boxes and tooltips letting you know what the tool tip does. So if I come over here at this one right here, it says a horizontal line. If I click it, then my cursor changes into a little dash, allowing me to click anywhere on my chart, one click, and the line gets dropped. I think I changed the color of my line, and I changed also the thickness. And I also changed the label right here on the right-hand side. This number that you see on the yellow line is the label of the line. The line is exactly at 5,378.11, which, I can adjust if I want to. Let's say, for example, that I want to monitor this level, 5150 down here. So that's where, the price was tested a couple days ago, but it didn't drop below that. But, today we are in an update, but, we may see things happening here to the S&P 500. We can monitor the downside or the upside. So let's say, for example, create two lines. First, let's adjust this line and put it at 5150. All I need to do, I can click and drag and put it right here at 5150. I find that sometimes that is difficult to do because, clicking and dragging is not so precise, which is okay. I can double click on the line, go to the data tab, and enter the exact price that I want, 5150. That way, it'll be a little bit more precise. If you're having difficulties dragging a line and dropping it exactly at the price you want, then you can always double click on it, go to data, and change it. I'm going to click and drag so that I can place it here at 5350. Again, it may be difficult to drop it right at 5350, but that's okay. I'm going to drop it as close as I can. Double click on it, and then I can edit the price here to not have that. I'll just type it all again. 5350. Enter. 5350. Enter. There we go. And that's it. Now we have two lines. We've created a channel. I can double click on the line again and set up the alerts, because ideally when you draw something on the chart, you want to be alerted if the price activity interacts with that line, whether it's a trend line or a horizontal line or a vertical line, whatever it is. If the price activity touches that, be alert. You double click on any drawing tool in TradeStation, you have access to the alerts tab where you can check this box that says enable alert, and I can choose how I want to be alerted. There is a frequency of the alert. I may want to do it alert once per bar, and then I can use messaging. Like, for example, if I click configure, I can choose a sound, a visual, or an email. I can configure an email to be sent out to me if an alert gets triggered. So I can do that for both lines. Alert once per bar. And that's it. Now I can go on to something else and see if I find other trading opportunities. I can come here at the bottom, maybe click on the plus, and then go on to something different. Being assured that as long as I keep that original workspace open, the one here, let me switch to it. This one remains open. I'm on this new one. As long as that workspace remains open at the bottom, I'm going to be notified whenever the price touches any of those lines. So it doesn't have to be visible on the screen. As long as you have it open, that's good enough for TradeStation to make sure that you get notified when the line gets touched. Let's go ahead and pull up a symbol here of a security. Let's go ahead and pull up Tesla, TSLA. Enter. All right, this is Tesla on a 5-minute time frame. All the studies and technical indicators are going to be right here on the studies tab over the studies button. I'm going to go here to add study. it loads a list of studies in TradeStation. You have different types of studies in TradeStation, including show me's, paint bars, activity bars, and probability maps. What I do recommend you do, if you're not really familiar with a lot of the things that are here, explore. You can go here, for example, on a paint bar and see that we have something that that has, let's see, here's a MACD gradient or a momentum decreasing, momentum increasing. If you see anything that catches your eye, you can click it to highlight it and then click on this definition button that will take you to documentation on that study. So this will give you some of the inputs that are the MACD gradient and then the market synopsis of that indicator. So always click on an indicator if you want to find out information about it. A lot of the indicators that are built into the TradeStation platform are well-known studies out in the technical analysis arena. So in addition to looking at the documentation that exists inside of the TradeStation platform, you can also use a search engine online to search for additional content of those on those studies. Let's go ahead and add something that we can all understand, something simple like a moving average. Let me show you what I can do with it. I'm going to go here and select a moving average two-line right here. As soon as I select that study, it goes on the chart. By the way, you guys remember that I had selected the gradient, and that's exactly what it did on my chart. It actually changed the color of my candlesticks. And it's interesting that the gradient color, that difference between the yellow and the magenta and any shade in between those two colors is created by that study based on how far those lines are in the MACD average. So let me go, I can remove that. If I go to the studies menu and go to edit studies, I can select any studies that I don't want, for example, the gradient, and I can click remove. Click OK. Now I'm back on red and green candles, and I see the two lines working its way through the price data. It's exactly what it's meant to do. It's meant to provide me crossovers based on a certain number of bars. The default is 9 and 18, but I do have the ability to change it. Let's say that one of the things that I want to do is compare a 50 period against a 100 period. I can double click on those two lines. You're going to see that a lot of the editing that I do, I accomplish it doing double clicks. Just make sure that you double click and you go to the right window, customize indicator. Because if you miss the indicator, let's say that you double click on the candles instead, it takes you to the customize symbol dialog. Or if you were to click on the background instead, it takes you to the customize window dialog. But if you want indicator, we just want to confirm that we're taken to the right dialog. I'm going to double click on the line one more time and notice that this one says customize indicator. And in the inputs tab, this is where you change the parameters of any indicator and make it calculate the way you want. I did say that I wanted the fast to be 50 and I wanted the slow to be 100. Then I click OK. And now you can see that the crossovers are a little bit more sporadic, meaning that they don't occur as often because we've increased the number of bars used in the calculation and it smoothes the line a little bit more. In fact, you can see that in the history of this particular chart, there's only been one crossover, which happened yesterday, but it doesn't have enough historical data to calculate that. I can change the time frame now. I can type in the word daily to change the time frame to daily. I hit enter. And now this is what the indicator looks like on a daily time frame. When you pull up a symbol, which is happening here on my Tesla symbol, and you have traded that symbol, whether it is on a live account or a simulated account, all that trading activity will be visible on the chart. So if you see all those blue arrows, red arrows, and white arrows, and little lines and numbers, that's just trading activity that I've done on Tesla on the simulator, and the chart is showing me every time that I entered, exited Tesla shares. Many times, if you want to get rid of that because it's just in the way and it's just cluttering your chart, you can just right click on any of the arrows and you can say disable account orders and positions. That's what the feature is called. So if I disable account orders and positions, it'll disconnect my chart to my account and I won't see that trading activity anymore. So you do have the option to turn it on and off. If you want to bring it back on, just go to the settings menu right here at the top, because now you don't have anything to right click on. And you go to account orders and positions, which is the same name that we right clicked on. There we can just put a check here under status, make sure that the check mark is shown, and then click OK. And the data comes back. So feel free to turn that on or off. So that's my indicator. What I would want to keep track of is when the two lines cross, because if you're familiar with the moving average concept, it's just looking for the two lines to cross as an indication that the price trend may change. If there's an uptrend, a crossover to the downside may imply that we are turning down. Sometimes it doesn't hold true, and depending on how big your periods or your time frames are, the crossovers are going to be a little bit more sporadic. So we did have a crossover here to the downside or to the upside, and we see how the bullish trend followed through. So yeah, we can double click on that indicator and go to the alerts tab and enable the alert as well. So yeah, you can turn on alerts on all indicators of TradeStation. Most of the indicators have alert criteria already programmed. So all you need to be concerned of is coming here and putting a check on enable alert. I'm going to do alert once per bar. And for this one, yeah, you can use the global messaging preferences and set your sounds and set your pop-up windows. But as soon as I click OK, then those two lines are hot. Anytime that there's a crossover, I'm going to be alerted. Of course, in a daily chart, and having those lines set to 50 and 100, it'll be days before we get a crossover, especially since we had a crossover just recently, and the two lines right here seem to have separated significantly. Then it may be days before we can have a crossover, which is fine. As long as we have the workspace open, the alert is being monitored tick by tick, and it'll let us know when the crossover happens. Let's say, for example, that you were wanting to look for symbols that are crossing right now. Let's suppose that moving averages is your thing, and you say, that's the first thing that I look at, when I want to trade a security. I want to look for the ones that are crossing their moving averages, and then I'll make a decision whether that's a good trading opportunity or not, based on other factors. If you're looking at fundamentals, if you're looking at other, technical indicators, you can mix and match any type of analysis. But let's go ahead and do some scanning and look for securities that are crossing right now. I'm getting that internet connection unstable one more time, so I may be breaking up a little bit. I apologize for that. So hopefully I'm back on, and let's go ahead and do some scanning. I'm going to open up a new workspace. By the way, these titled workspaces can be saved. So if I want to come back here, right click, I can save the workspace by right-clicking on the tab, and I can give this workspace a name. Let me call this MOV AVG chart. I'll save it, and you can see how the tab now has a custom name, which I can click and drag and put in different locations. So the workspace tabs at the bottom can be rearranged by clicking and dragging. That's something that I do a lot also on Excel. So if you're familiar with Excel, it has that same feature of clicking and dragging. Back to scanning. Let me go here to my other untitled workspace. I'm going to do my scanning using Radar Screen. Radar Screen is a real-time scanning tool that allows you to rank and sort symbols. It's excellent tool if you want to filter through hundreds of different symbols. Let me go and open up Radar Screen. The same as I did with the chart, I'm just going to stretch this out so that it shows the whole thing. In fact, let me bring that in a little bit. I may not need everything here. What I'm going to do also is I'm going to open up a chart. Because one of the things that I did say is that, okay, I may find symbols that are crossing by using the scanning capabilities of radar screen, but I won't know if that is a good trading candidate until I pull up a chart and see where the crossover is happening and in what context. What has happened before. Is that, am I given a good trading opportunity? Well, that's determined by additional analysis. And that's the reason why sometimes I have a chart open somewhere so that I can look at historical data. Let's go ahead and link the two windows together here so that I can click on symbols and have the chart update automatically. The linking buttons are up here. So if I click on the S's on my title bar, and as long as they are in the same color, it'll mean that both windows are linked. And when I click on a symbol here on my radar screen, which I don't have yet, the chart will update to that symbol. Here in my radar screen, I'm going to add a list of symbols. I'm going to go to the data menu, add a symbol list, and we have some prepackaged list of symbols that you can click on here. I'm going to choose the NASDAQ 100 because that'll add 100 symbols to my radar screen. I can do, the whole 500. In fact, let's go ahead and do the 500. Sometimes I try not to use the 500 so it doesn't bog down my computer. My computer is not the fastest computer. And if you have 500 symbols updating in radar screen, it's a real-time screen. So it updates and calculates every single tick for all those 500 symbols. So it's a magnified problem if you have a slow computer. Let me go ahead and select the S&P 500 index. It loads it right here into my radar screen. You can see that all the symbols are there. That was pretty quick. I'm going to remove columns here that I don't need. Bid, ask, high, low, not interested. Click, drag, highlight all 4 columns, press delete on the keyboard. What I do need is the moving average. So I'm going to click here on the plus to add an additional column. You can also go here to studies and add studies if you don't see the plus. But here I'm going to go to my moving averages, the one that I used on charting. So right here, I'm going to add it. It's right there at the end, but I can move it up or down if I want to. I'm just going to click OK. And this is calculating my moving averages for all 500 symbols, which makes your radar screen pretty impressive because it's not only a quotes window, it's a way for you to do technical analysis on a list of symbols like this. So you're doing the moving average analysis on 500 symbols at the same time. So this is like having 500 individual chart windows on your TradeStation because they're all loading historical data and performing the calculations. Now, I can take this further and use it as a filtering mechanism. But before we do, let me go ahead and add the studies here on my chart so that it matches. I'm using the same one. I'm going to time frame this time. I'm going to stick to that original. What I'm going to do is change the time frame. All right, so let's go ahead and click on a symbol here on my radar screen. I'm clicking on American Airlines, and you can see that American Airlines gets loaded right here inside of my chart. For American Airlines, I have 1034 and 1002. But if you look at the values here inside of my radar screen, my moving averages have 944 and 941. So the averages here in radar screen are different than the chart. The reason for that, and I'm setting it up this way, is because I want you to be aware that things can happen. It's not that something wrong happened. It's just that you have to realize why the values are not the same. The reason why they're not the same is because I switched my chart to daily, but my radar screen is set to interval. The only way that you can have a calculation on a technical study is for the technical study to know what type of historical data you want the calculation to be on. Do you want it on daily bars? Do you want it on 5-minute bars? So you can see that my radar screen is on 5-minute, but my chart is on daily. So the numbers, or the moving averages numbers, are not going to match. I need to change the interval here to daily if I want to do a daily scan or a daily time frame for the scan. And the way that I change the symbols here to daily, just click the symbols. And what I do is I click on the header for the column and it's going to highlight all the symbols that are under it. That way, I can go to the time frame drop down and say, I want all those symbols that I selected set to daily. And now you can see that daily shows up right here in the interval column. And my moving averages, they recalculated. I'm not sure if you saw it blank out and recalculate again. But when I click on American Airlines and I look at the moving averages, then I see the 1002, the 1034, which are exactly the same here on the chart. So always go through that process to make sure that you are comparing apples to apples and that you don't have any issues with different data. All right, so before we go into scanning by the radar screen, all these symbols can be sorted based on the columns that you have here. We have a volume today column. So if you want to know, out of all the 500 symbols that are part of the S&P index, which one has the highest volume, just double click on volume today. It sorts the symbols in ascending order. You can see the one that has the least trading volume is NVR. And it's understandable because every share of NVR is $8,370. So that could explain a little bit about the low volume. But if I double click on volume today again, then I see the top highest volume by a big shot, NVIDIA, with 107 million shares traded so far. The second to that is Tesla with only 20 million. So NVIDIA today is trading 5 times more shares than the second symbol on the list, which is pretty impressive. And considering that Tesla is almost twice the price of NVIDIA, that's pretty impressive. I'm not sure what's happening to NVIDIA today, but it seems to be trading immensely fast. If I click on NVIDIA right here, then you can see what's happening to NVIDIA. Recently, we had a big drop a couple days ago. Well, the whole market dropped significantly a couple days ago, and it's been recovering, yesterday and today. So let's go ahead and take a look at some scanning capabilities, because all the columns here can be ranked. So if you want to see which one is the one that has the highest price, double click on last, and there's NVR, and which one is the cheapest stock in the S&P 500 is this one right here, Warner Bros. With $7.71. So feel free to make any sort of ranking based on any of your columns. But what I want to know is, are any of these symbols crossing on the moving average to line? What I need to do here is right click on the header for the technical indicator that I want to use for scanning, and go to studies and edit the study for all symbols. That way you can do the whole, you can turn on the alert on all 500 symbols at once. I'm going to use the same inputs. I'm just going to go here to the alert. For this one, I'm going to alert continuously, which is sometimes you have to be aware of what that means, because if every single tick meets the criteria, then you're going to get alerts every single tick, and that could be annoying, especially if you're turning on an alert on 500 symbols. Just have to be aware of what you're doing, so you don't have to click through hundreds and hundreds of pop-up messages. So for this type of scanning, I'm going to select none for messaging, so no sounds, no pop-up messages, and you can see that inside parentheses it says for scanning for alerts in radar screen. I click OK, and there it is. You see a little yellow corner on each one of the rows, and you also see a red marker on some symbols. Those red markers are the ones that are giving you real-time alerts. So I can click on Warner Bros., which is WBD, and I can see that, take a look here on the chart, the 2 lines have crossed. This is a bearish signal because you see the fast crossing below the slow. May be explained by the big drop in price. And I may be inclined to say that all the symbols that are giving me alert are going to be bearish since the market has significantly. Invesco, IVZ, I click it. There we go. We have a bearish crossover. So this is a quick way for you to find out which symbols of the 500 are crossing right now. Let me go ahead and filter. Now that you've applied an alert and you're able to identify, which ones are crossing, you can use the filter bar up here to say, show me the moving average 2-line symbols that have a alert true. There we go. Now we have a filtered radar screen. Out of the 500 symbols, we have 26 symbols. If we don't count, the label row, 26 symbols that are crossing right now. FICO, FICO. Notice that it has a bullish crossover. Notice what happens here in FICO. We had an uptrend, a rally. Then we have, the data kind of moving sideways. The moving averages started to get closer to each other. There was a little bit of a downturn, so the moving averages crossed to the downside. You see a little peak here, but then a day later, then it crossed to the upper side. So this is a back-to-back crossover on that moving average, which sometimes is concerning because is it going to continue to do that? Is it going to generate false signals in the moving average where you have back-to-back crossovers, bullish, bearish, and you're not really sure the direction of price? It could. Maybe now it's going to go in one single direction. So there's more analysis needed to make a determination if this would be a trading candidate, of course. But this helps a lot. Having a tool like the radar screen that allows you to plug in a technical idea and at least sets up your conditions and your trade. These are the symbols that I want to look at because these are the ones that are meeting the criteria of my study. In this case, if you were using the moving average 2-line, it will make it very easy for you to find those symbols that are crossing. At any moment, of course, you can click on the symbols and trade them. Let's go ahead and show you some trading functionality. Usually we show you matrix, and sometimes we show you chart trading. Today, which one would you like to see? Matrix or chart trading? If I don't see a comment here in the chat, I'll just pick one. But let's go ahead and set up a chart first. This is a chart. I'll leave it on intraday. And over here on the right-hand side, I'll set my matrix. Why not show both, right? We can show both. That's totally fine. I'm going to make my radar screen a little bit larger so it fills this whole area. Okay. And let me just open this up so I can see the whole trade bar. And let's go ahead and change. Let's link the two windows together, first of all. So if I make a symbol change in one, I'll see the symbol change here. I make. Let's go here to Verizon, VZ. All right, that's my Verizon chart. I already have a position open on Verizon. In fact, what you see up here, this is called the position graph bar. And for any open position that you have in your account, you're going to see a little box. If I look for Verizon, is right here. I'm not there. If I hover over my Verizon box, I can see my position size. You can see that I'm long 1,000 shares of Verizon. I got those shares at $39. The current price is $40. So I'm making about, $14.90. You see the real-time P&L inside the box. I have other positions, Starbucks, Home Depot. I have a Tesla put option here. So a lot of these positions are in a trading simulator. So this is not a live account, but you can still play around with the functionality using, real symbols and real data. So let me choose something that I don't have a position on. Let me go here to Bank of America. All right, so this is Bank of America, and this is the matrix on Bank of America. The matrix is interesting because it does provide you market depth, or what some other traders call level 2. And you can see how many orders, or what's the size of the bid and what's the size of the offer. As traders are submitting trades to the exchanges, a lot of those requirements, if you're submitting those orders with a specific price, those orders are sitting inside of the market maker books. And the market makers and ECNs are reporting how many shares are waiting to get filled at each one of those prices. So when you see the numbers that are inside the blue and inside the red right here on my matrix, that is number of shares waiting to get filled at each one of those levels. Sometimes it's great to use as a market sentiment indicator because you can see if there's an imbalance between the bid and the ask. That could be an indication of where the prices could be headed. But at the same time, you can see the market sentiment. What do people feel about Bank of America? Are there more bids? Are there more offers? So that's a good sign of where may be headed. If I want to trade Bank of America, I just have to hover over the blue if I want to be a buyer, or hover over the red if I want to be a seller. In this case, since I don't have a position, it will be selling short, right? But let's go ahead and see that. Let's go ahead and say that I want to submit my order for 1,000 shares. So let me go ahead and click on 1,000 here in my history. I'm going to set my buying transaction at the low of today. This little horizontal line tells me what the low of today is, which is $38.04. That's what the lowest price traded today. And I may want to submit my trade at that, thinking that, the price of Bank of America may drop and then rally. That could be a possibility. So if I click inside the blue, that sends my order to buy. This blue box is my order to buy. I can see it sitting here at 34.04. If I look at my chart, I also see it on my chart, 38.04. A lot of times if I have my matrix open, I also have a chart open because what you do in one gets reflected in the other automatically. In fact, on my chart, I can turn on chart trading, which is this button right here on the toolbar. Chart trading will give you the ability to place trades on the chart. And you can see how the trade bar on my chart is somewhat similar to what I see here inside of the matrix. So that way there's not a big learning curve if you want to switch from one trading tool to the other. But I do like having a chart open somewhere because you can see the order in context with everything that's been happening historically. So now you can see that my order is sitting right here at the low of today, which is higher than where the prices were yesterday. So yeah, and you see that there was a bounce. The price rallied up a little bit in the morning, and it dropped again, and it's almost hitting that low. So are there chances of my order getting filled? I would say yes. Is it going to get filled? No guarantee, but it's sitting there waiting to get filled. I can adjust it if I want to. So instead of 38.04, let's say that we want to bid 38.10. I'm going to click on that order line, and I'm going to raise it to 38.10. That I just did. Notice that it not only adjusted that chart, but it also adjusted it here on the matrix on buying at 38.10, which is not the low of today. If I wanted to get filled right away, I know that the best selling price is 38.14, and it changes as we speak. But we have about 7,000 or 8,000 shares being offered for sale at that level. If we were to grab our order and drop it where those buyers are, it's get filled immediately. So I'm going to grab my buy order, drop it here where the liquidity is. I think you heard my computer say order filled, and I did get filled. I see this horizontal bar that highlights my average price for my position, and I see real-time P&L here on the left-hand side. I can use the P&L column as a way to submitting profit targets and stops. So if I see my position, gaining some momentum and moving in the positive side, I can just click on this 100 up here and say, if it reaches this level, I want to sell. I want to capture $100. Maybe it's a quick trade. I'm happy with $100, and that's where my selling transaction is. Notice that I click directly on the amount, dollar amount, and that submitted an order here also inside of my chart, which gives me also the potential P&L, which is $100. I can move it anywhere I want by clicking and dragging. If I want to move it to a $150 profit, I can. Notice how that gets adjusted automatically here on my chart as well. To cancel an order, it's very simple. Just click on the box once, and the order goes away. You can do a stop loss by clicking on a negative amount. You can cancel that stop also by clicking on the box. If you want to set a profit target and a stop loss at the same time, then you have to do something different, because that would be called an OCO, which is an order cancels order. They're connected. So if one side gets filled, the other side gets canceled automatically. And you can only have that behavior by connecting the two orders. In fact, I don't think TradeStation will allow you to sell or submit two selling transactions for the same security unless they are connected in an OCO. So if that's what you're looking for, if what you're looking for is having two different exit orders to protect your position and have it play out to whatever scenario you've already planned out, that's doable. Right here on the matrix, I just have to go to the OCO order button, which is also available here inside of chart trading. But inside the drop down, right below the button is where you select the template that you want to use. If it's just a simple target and a stop loss, you choose the bracket with 1L, 1S. But if you want to break up, let's say, your targets into two, then you choose a 2 limit, 1 stop. Or if you want to set 2 targets and 2 stops, then you set 2L. You get the idea, right? If you want just a simple bracket, let's go ahead and select that. If you want to specify the distance of your target and your stop, just click on the ellipsis here on the right-hand side, and you can choose how far away do you want your profit target and how far away do you want your stop. Let's say, for example, that we want a $1 target and we want a 50-cent stop. So a 2 to 1. If it moves $1, that means a $1,000 profit. And if it drops 50 cents, that means a $500 loss. If I put in those values, click OK, and all I need to do is click on the place OCO order, and my orders are sent. Now, one of the reasons why I keep a chart handy when I submit orders like this is that I can see where those orders are. You see, the matrix, since it's showing or displaying every single row for every single penny movement, then you'd have to scroll up or down to see where your orders are. If I scroll down here, you can see where my stop is sitting at 37.72, which is the same thing here on the chart. And if I scroll up, same thing. You know, if I go all the way up, you can see that my profit target is right here at 39.22, which is the same right here on the chart. So yes, the chart will display the orders without you having to, scroll up or down. But the matrix is very simple because it gives you one-click order entry. And a lot of times, we want to be able to submit those orders quickly, even without confirmations, because confirmations is one of the things that I disabled on my TradeStation, just because I do a lot of sample trades. And if I do that repetitively, because are great because it allows you to double check your trade, make sure that you haven't, fat fingered a number, maybe add an extra 0 to the quantity, and instead of 1,000, now you're buying 10,000. Some of those things you can catch inside of a confirmation window. So it's not that I'm against confirmation windows. In fact, I do recommend confirmation windows. But if you want to turn your order entry tool like the matrix into a one-click order entry tool, then you can do that if you want to. So I would want you to be a little bit more versed on the platform and then practice a little bit more so that you don't risk your own capital when you move over to the live account. All right. That's my class for today. We went over a few things on the platform. We talked about charting. We talked about scanning on radar screen. And we also talked a little about matrix. If you're interested in learning more, we have a series of videos that go through the functionality. In fact, if you go here to the TS Today workspace, I'm going to highlight the quick start videos that are here. There's 18 quick start videos. These videos are I don't think there's a video here longer than 7 minutes or 8 minutes. So these are short videos that guide you through most functionality on TradeStation. But I also want to show you, let me go here to a new workspace, an app that we have built into TradeStation called Video Station. If you open up Video Station, this feeds from the YouTube channel. So you don't necessarily have to leave TradeStation to access the videos inside of YouTube, because we've created an application that feeds those videos into the platform. So if you go to the tab that loads here are the recent uploads. So this is exactly like looking at the videos tab on YouTube. But then we have filtering capabilities here. So if you want to watch a replay of the getting started, just go here and go to desktop, for example, and you find desktop presentations here. If you are a fan of the masterclass, go to masterclass here. And if you're wanting to learn easy language, just go to leveraging easy language. And we have some easy language here, easy language classes here as well. Thank you guys for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I hope to see you in one of our future classes. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.